Welcome back into the studio. I thought I'd do another Patreon member critique, or kind of a help video. I think a lot of people seem to find these quite useful. This is from Patreon member Tracy, and it's 14 by 11 inches and it's on the sand coloured pastel matte paper. She's done a really great job. Horse drawings are, I think, some of the most difficult drawings to do with wildlife, especially when you're looking at these dark brown type of colours. Lots of the pencils don't really have anything that rich and that dark, so it can be a struggle if you don't use something like the pastel sticks, which got a wider range. Okay, so let me just go through a few points. And what I've done, I've taken these, both the reference photo from Unsplash on the left and the drawing on the right, and I've put them in Photoshop, and I've done some adjustments then to the drawing just to go over some of the critical parts in it and to speed it up a bit, so you don't have to sit through me adjusting things actually in Photoshop itself. Okay, so the reference photo, really striking image, and it's all about the lighting, okay, so how I like probably more than anything to do side light, dramatic lighting in my drawings and paintings, and this has obviously got that extremely well. The photographer has taken this. Okay, so we've got that very rich warm light. It's either early morning or it's late evening. Okay, so the sun is really low, warm looking sun as well, coupled with this brown colouring on the horse. That's giving us that real warm orangey glow just on the one side. Okay, when subjects are very evenly lit, so if it was evenly front lit, they can be a bit less dramatic, a bit boring, because you don't have a large tonal range. Now when I talk about tonal range, I'm talking about the lights and the darks, the difference between the absolute darkest elements to the lightest elements. And when we look at the reference photo, we can see we've got some complete blacks in the eyes, the nose, mouth, even in this top right section, the ear is almost completely black. And then we go through the range. Okay, so forget about it being coloured. In fact, let's switch it to black and white. Okay, so forget about it being coloured, because this is the critical important part of pretty much any drawing or painting, the tonal range, the tonal value, and I talk about this a lot in my longer tutorial videos. A dramatic subject has normally got the full range, or pretty much the full range, something really black all the way to something really white. Now you can get a bit confused when you look at the coloured version, looking for the lights and the darks, but when you see it in black and white, in grayscale, we can see all the way to the pure white on this edge, okay, to the highest tonal value there. Now if we look at Tracy's drawing instead, okay, so let's take a look at that in black and white, or grayscale I should say, really. So we don't have anything that's completely black. We have lots of this middle range, and we have the white blaze down the front. We've got that going into more of the right hand side towards the white, but we're completely lacking in the darks that we're seeing in the reference photo. Okay, so you can see them both together. So let's get rid of that. Let's put this back to colour. Let's put this one back to colour as well. Now remember what I said at the beginning, this photo, this reference photo, really is all about the light. So if you take away the contrast of the dark, the highlight around the edge, even though it's not white, remember when we put it into grayscale it came out as almost white. When you take away the highlight, what you're left with then is a very subdued looking reference photo without the drama of the light. And that's what I think is happening with Tracy's drawing. She's done some wonderful details. This is only one of her, she hasn't been doing this long at all. and she's very kindly allowed me to use this to help her progress, okay, and to help others that want to progress as well, because sometimes it can be difficult to understand where you need to go, what you need to do to get better. Now, one thing Tracy said was she included more underneath the chin line of the horse because the reference photo was lacking in that area which it needed. Now, when I looked at the reference photo, I thought it was cropped and the composition was pretty much perfect. It didn't need extra space all around it. When we look at the most common, really, compositional tool, the rule of thirds, if we break the image up into 3 equal parts, horizontally and vertically, then our rule of thirds, we just pop that back up, we would have, you know, our center of interest somewhere round about where these two lines meet, dissect, or here on the bottom. And with animal portraits like this, the eyes are pretty much always part of the center of interest, okay, just because we're really drawn to eyes as humans. We're looking into them all the time. So even without dramatic lighting, that's kind of the center of interest here. And you can see the way the photographer has cropped it, that is, you know, almost right on there. Now if I look at Tracy's artwork instead, she's added this bottom section and she's also added a lot of space to the right. It means the eye now, the center of interest, has gone even further away from that section, and more than that, you've got to ask yourself, or at least I ask myself when I'm looking at reference photos or doing drawings, is there any wasted space? Anything that's not adding to the artwork? And in this case, I'd say the right section, where she's made it larger, is now wasted space. It's not adding anything. And by adding more to the top and the bottom, the head is now not as prominent and is, you know, not really as big a deal. And then she's added elements in the background like these light against dark stripes, which are now really attracting attention. Whereas in the reference photo, there's nothing distracting in the background. It's got a pleasing color to it, but other than that, you know you should be looking at the horse and at the light. Okay, so let's take a look at a few things that I've done with Tracy's artwork to show you a difference that can be made when values are applied. Now bear in mind that all I'm doing with Photoshop is just what's called dodging and burning, making the darks darker, the lights lighter. I'm not really adjusting colors much. I'll do a bit at the end, but the way I'm doing it is very, very basic. Okay, so I'm not trying to create a duplicate of the reference photo. I'm trying to help Tracy's artwork along. So by adding darker elements, okay, so remember I said that we need that tonal range. So if I increase the darkness where I'm seeing shadow, that's all of a sudden, like I said, this is very basic the way I've done it. That's already starting to add shape to the horse. Shape and form, that's created by tone. Yep, the light and the dark, it's not created by the color. And if I add more lights as well, then when I take those back off, you can see already the horse is going from a very flat appearance where it's almost blending into the background. Remember when we saw it in black and white, it's almost blending right into the background. If you squint your eyes, if it wasn't for that white blaze down the nose, the head, it would pretty much be the same tonal value as the background. But now I'm adding the lights and darks, it's coming away from the background a bit more. Now there, all I've done is increased the tonal range. So I've made the darks lighter again, which makes the the darks darker, which and then makes the lights that look that little bit lighter again. So if we go from beginning to now, you can see it's starting to get more shape and form. And the other thing I'm going to do right at the end is just adjust the color. okay, to represent a little bit more of what we were seeing in the reference photo. Obviously Tracy's gone out a bit on the colour here on the right hand side. If you look at the reference, you can see we've got some of the brown in with the orange and that goldy colour, rather than just a giant step from brown to the goldy colour. The gold colour, you know, is quite accurate, but what you needed, Tracy, was to put some of the browns in there to create more of a gradual change in the colour rather than a big step jump like that. So if we see from the beginning now, as the drawing was, do you see now what I said and meant about the tonal range really helping? If you could just get the tonal range, the darks, mid-tones and lights more accurate, that's the result. Okay, so Tracy, I know you want to you wanted ideas for improvement. I think what I would say is really study the reference photo and do what I always say. If you can possibly print out a good quality sized the same as the drawing you're doing of the reference photo, if you could print that out, then at the very early stages at least, fold the reference photo and put it over the top of the drawing, okay, as you're doing the drawing, because that's going to show you the colors, but more importantly the tonal range right at the start. Get the tones correct, the lightness and the darkness. Got to get the darks dark enough in the right areas, okay, and if you do that at the beginning, the details on top is just the icing on the cake. So thank you very much for sending that in. I hope you've all found it interesting and of use, and I'll see you all on the next video.